Constitution that are serving in the Congress and decide that they want to stand up and protect Americans as we have a lawless 34-count convicted felon that is continuing to engage in illegal actions that are harming both us here domestically as well as Americans and others abroad. We've got money for war, but we can't feed the poor. And the reason that I bring this up is for two reasons. Number one, in order to get Maduro, the estimated cost is $3 billion. I can do that. A lot of Americans would say, yes, there's a valid warrant and things like that, but for the cost of $3 billion, let's put our money somewhere else. Number one. Number two, Professor, you talked about the fact that if there wasn't the loss of life as it relates to our service members, or if this was just kind of quick boots on the ground for a second, then it wasn't war. So just answer this question for me. Would you consider what is taking place currently in the Middle East a war because we continue to have our sons and daughters returned in caskets to the United States? That's a yes or no?
No, the analysis for Iran is different.
Oh, okay. Okay, so you agree with me then? Yes?
I didn't say that.
Okay, it's different analysis. So I'm just going to go with you agree with me because this is clearly a war and it's unconstitutional. That is the bottom line. And frankly, as it relates to Venezuela, I think that we still will have some time to determine exactly how bad it is. Because imagine for 2 seconds that you had fishermen and sailors that were coming from the United States. And Venezuela all of a sudden started bombing our people saying, oh, no, you're bringing guns. Because let me be clear, America does their fair share of nonsense in other countries. We tend to supply everybody with the guns. We flood this world with guns everywhere, right? So let's say they said, you know what? We don't want all those guns going to the gangsters in our communities. So we're just going to start blowing people up. And frankly, legally, that may work for them. You know why? We have a constitution and not everybody does. And so it is offensive to sit here and engage in this conversation as someone who practiced criminal law. And my God, everyone that I had, no matter what they were accused of, even if they were accused of capital murder, they were given an opportunity to actually show up in court and face their accusations, not be killed. So the justification, like, I don't understand why we are trying to make it partisan. It should not be partisan to just go and blow up these boats. Are you saying, Professor, that you believe that blowing up these boats because somebody believes it? You know what? Let me do it this way. Let's say they are drug traffickers. Do you believe that it is constitutional for the United States to blow up people that are accused of being drug traffickers?
So it's not going to be a yes or no question. If I can take
okay, then I'm gonna stop you there because I only got so much time. And Professor, I was really loving on you because you came from South Texas, which is down in Houston, not too far from the University of Houston, where I got my law degree. But it is very clear that it's unconstitutional for us in the United States. Let me give y'all another issue that I don't understand if y'all see it the way that I do. There's this little thing called the Epstein files. There's a lot of people that have been found liable, charged, all kinds of stuff from Prince Andrew and Peter Mandelson, from Norwegian officials, the former prime minister, and the former ambassador, all these different people, right? Some would argue, especially since there was international trafficking that was taking place, some would argue that our president, whose name is found over and over and over and over in these files, may have engaged in, say, child trafficking, sex trafficking. They may come to that conclusion. Now, with that being the understanding, if there are other countries that believe, because they believe in actually holding people accountable, okay? So they say, you know what? There were some girls from England or wherever, because there were people from different countries, and they say, you know what, we gonna just come and we're gonna drop in on America. We're going to bomb America. We're going to kill civilians in America because you know what? We have a warrant for his arrest. whether it's for the child sex trafficking in the Epstein files because America doesn't want to do their job, or whether we're talking about violating international law, whether we're talking about going and just randomly killing people. I can tell you that every single one of you that is sticking up for him right now would be screaming from the rooftops. The analysis has to be the same. I am so offended that I am still paying my daggone student loans for law school, and it seems like none of it matters nowadays. Because seemingly what we do is we twist the law to justify. The analysis is the same. If you would be outraged if they came and bombed our country to go after him, to arrest him, if you're listening, that I don't know. I don't know if people are doing this. But if they decided to do that because of the Epstein files or because of violating international, all would be against it. So we should be against it right now. Unfortunately, this is a conversation I never thought we should have. And so let's get into it. The so-called president of peace has spent all his time in office dragging the United States into conflict all over the world. He's threatened our closest allies. He started another unauthorized regime change war in the Middle East. And in this instance, he invaded a sovereign nation and kidnapped its leader. Now, I don't want y'all to get it twisted and believe for any reason that I think Maduro is a saint. But there are processes. A lot of Republicans in Congress and on this committee will argue that Trump's attack on Venezuela will be for the good of the Venezuelan people, as the chairman has laid out. But let me be clear, Donald Trump does not care about the Venezuelan people, and let me give you the receipts on how I know. He said that Venezuelans were invading the United States. He terminated the protected status of more than 350,000 Venezuelans. He deported Venezuelans to El Salvador's terrorist prison, even though many of them had no criminal record. So this was never about helping the Venezuelan people. Donald Trump does not care about Venezuelans at all. To be clear, there is no legal basis for the United States government to invade a sovereign country and kidnap its leader. There is no legal basis for recklessly bombing people who pose no immediate threat to the United States. And the exact language that I believe the chairman used was that this was a precise operation. I don't know if his definition of precise includes the fact that there were at least 40 civilians killed in this operation in Venezuela, and there was a total of 83 persons that were killed during this invasion. But Donald Trump's unlawful military action in Venezuela was never about stopping illicit drugs from entering the United States. According to the DEA's National Drug Threat Assessment, Venezuela has little to no role in smuggling illicit fentanyl into the United States. In fact, DEA has never listed Venezuela as a fentanyl source or transit country. Coast Guard and military data do not show any fentanyl coming from Venezuelan-linked maritime routes. It's interesting because the last thing that I remember hearing about is that the president decided not to consult with Congress before going into Venezuela, but to consult with oil corporate executives. I'll just put that out there. And Donald Trump, he also pardoned former Honduran President Juan Hernandez, who was found guilty in a court of law in these United States of trafficking more than 400 tons of cocaine into the United States, which is double the amount of cocaine that Trump's own State Department estimates was trafficked through the entire country of Venezuela. International drug traffickers love Donald Trump because they know that even if they are arrested, it's easy enough to get a pardon from him. The data shows that Donald Trump is one of the most pro-drug trafficking presidents in modern day history. Since he took office, prosecutions for drug trafficking have fallen to the lowest levels in decades because the agents tasked with going after drug cartels have either been fired or forced to start raiding your local Home Depot, or illegally breaking into the homes of American citizens, or monitoring community schools and churches so that the government can disappear entire families. It was never about protecting Americans. It was never about bringing democracy to Venezuela. It was never about stopping illicit drugs from entering the country. Like everything else this administration does, it was about corruption. The president told oil executives about the planned attack days before it happened. Trump then promised that oil companies would be fully reimbursed by American taxpayers for any investments they make in Venezuela. And once the president illegally took control over Venezuela's oil reserves, the first sale went to the company of a man who donated $6 million to Trump's campaign. This is why the president attacked Venezuela. This was about greed. This was about controlling their oil so that the oil executives who donated to his campaign could make even more money. Not only was this illegal and corrupt, it's also extremely expensive for U.S. taxpayers. The operation to capture Maduro cost taxpayers at least $3 billion. And it is now costing taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars to maintain the oil tankers that the United States government has seized. And as a Texan, let me tell you, this is not helping those in my state that engage in oil work. This erratic and illegal foreign policy is now responsible for the death of 13 U.S. service members and has made the Republican-caused economic crisis even worse. The final point that I'll make is that, especially as we have young people here, I think there's a lot that we can learn from our youth. I remember as a little girl being told things like 2 wrongs don't make a right. It is very clear that Maduro is a wrong guy, and he may have even been illegally in power. But the idea that you would meet illegality with further illegality does not necessarily make it a right. So as someone who is trained in the law, as someone who still respects the law, as someone who believes that law and order should matter in this country, I can't speak for others. It is a shame that we do not have enough people that understand the Constitution, that are serving in the Congress, and decide that they want to stand up and protect Americans, as we have a lawless 34-count convicted felon that is continuing to engage in illegal actions that are harming both us here domestically as well as Americans and others abroad. We've got money for war, but we can't feed the poor. And the reason that I bring this up is for 2 reasons. Number one, in order to get Maduro
I yield it back to the chair.
Okay, thank you for yielding back to the chair. And now I recognize Representative Ocasio-Cortez for her 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. How you doing, Mr. Secretary?
Good. Thank you for asking.
No, of course, of course. I'm not sure if you remember our last chat about a year ago where we talked about Medicare Advantage. But, you know, I think one area of agreement that we have, I hope, is that these insurance companies are fleecing the public, right? Can we agree on that?
Absolutely.
And they are, I mean, it's highway robbery on the American people, on people who are sick, on seniors. We're on the same page about that, right?
Yes.
And last year, I brought up Medicare, the Medicare Advantage program to you, because these corporations like United Healthcare, Aetna, are known to be defrauding the public. And really, we know that with Medicare Advantage, it's to the tune of about $80 billion. And the Department of Justice has in fact opened an actual—
You mentioned United last time.
So you remember this, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm glad that we're able to kind of jog the memory on there. And we chatted about this, and we actually chatted about it afterwards too. And so we know this, we're all on the same page here. United, CVS, Aetna, they're defrauding the American public to the tune of $80 billion a year. We know that they're doing this to the public. You know it, I know it. We've even had some bipartisan chat about this. And so I was surprised to see about 2 weeks ago, you had decided to give them another $13 billion. And it was used through the mechanism of the MA reimbursement rates. But I want to know, why did you do that?
And first of all, I agree with you on everything that you said. We have to look at the reimbursements that the industry get, which they said there'd been a 5% increase in cost. And that if we didn't give them the full 5%, they were going to lose, that it would impair patient choice, particularly in some regions of the country, the industry would leave. We gave them a 2% raise.
Right. And I hear what you're saying, Mr. Secretary, that the industry is saying that they're increasing these costs, but the industry is defrauding the public. So we know they're lying. We know they're lying through even their mechanisms. They are upcoding. They are telling us, the public, the government, Medicare, our systems, that people are sicker than they are so that they can get more money. They're lowering their reimbursement rates. They're increasing denial. So we know that these folks are lying. We know that they're bad actors. And if I'm hearing you correctly, we are giving them more money because they're saying that they need it?
Can I answer the question?
Yeah.
First of all, I appreciate everything you've done and you speaking out about upcoding. We are ending upcoding. We're using AI now to detect it, to prosecute it, and to end it. Yeah, they're lying, but my job as HHS secretary, I have to balance the impact on patients if there are no options in those areas. So we'll do a lot to verify we don't trust. We do a lot to verify.
And I hear what you're saying. I mean, even when you talked about that 2%, it's something that I found interesting too, because that 2.48% wasn't initially what you were going to go for. You had announced in January that, in fact, CMS had proposed an increase of 0.09%.
Yeah.
Which would have essentially kept payments flat at minimum to these corporations like United and Aetna that are robbing us. And so there was an interesting amendment that you had made. We've got the experts saying, okay, even when you start looking at that inflation rate or that cost rate, even that at most is 0.09%. But then it seemed as though there was some industry backlash. And now we're at 2.48%. We're giving them $13 billion when they are stealing $80 billion a year as it is. I say we let them eat it. Why not?
Well, you can see from what we originally published what our intention was, to give them essentially nothing.
Okay.
And we got a huge blowback, not only from the industry, but providers and everybody else who said, we are going to experience closures. We're going to experience places where you cannot get insurance. It is going to leave all these patients high and dry. We did our own investigation, and you can look at healthcare.
Representative, time's up. And you can,
Anyway,
I'm
I
the
really
secretary.
appreciate you giving me a chance to answer questions. I can't thank you enough for that.
well, a moment yields back, and I now recognize Dr. Schreier for her 5 minutes of questions.
Secretary Kennedy, last week you testified that newborns should only get the hepatitis B vaccine at birth if their moms test positive or haven't been tested. This is a massive departure from a 35-year recommendation for all babies to get the vaccine at birth. Secretary Kennedy, how often does that test miss hepatitis B in moms who actually have it?
How often?
How often does that test make a mistake?
It makes some mistakes. I'm not sure what the error rate is.
It's a really important piece of data. It's not a perfect test. It turns out there's a false negative rate of 1 to 2%. And that might be enough for screening the general population, but not when a baby's life is at risk. And so let me just translate. That means if there's 100 moms out there with hepatitis B, 2 of them are going to be told that they don't have it. Their children will not be vaccinated based on your recommendations. And then there's a 90% chance that those 2 children will end up getting chronic hepatitis B. Mr. Secretary, do you know what happens when you get chronic hepatitis B?
I do. I also know that the death rate in children was practically 0 for hepatitis B prior to the introduction of the vaccine.
So it's interesting to say that, because generally speaking, what happens with these children is that they don't die as children, but they can spread hepatitis B to other people. But they go on later in life to get cirrhosis of the liver and liver cancer, and they might need liver transplants, and they die prematurely when they are younger in adulthood. And so you're basically sentencing thousands of kids to a terrible chronic illness that you want to prevent for no reason. At the same time, you're suggesting to parents that there's something wrong with the vaccine, that it might not be safe. Because after all, why not just give them to every child and not have anybody fall through the cracks? That's your underlying message. Now, there's another shot that babies get at birth. It's vitamin K, and it prevents catastrophic brain bleeds. And now that you've made parents distrust doctors and shots, some parents are now refusing the vitamin K shot and other routine care, putting these babies at risk for bleeding out. This has a name. It's called the RFK Jr. spillover effect. You spread misinformation, you scare parents and confuse them. Parents don't immunize their children or give them other routine care, and then the kids get sick and they might even die. And right now, Secretary Kennedy, given what I just told you about vitamin K, will you just tell pregnant women out there, for the record, yes, you should get your babies the vitamin K shot?
Well, first of all, anybody can get a hepatitis B shot and have their insurance company pay for it.
Secretary, the point is that you're discouraging it. You're suggesting it's unsafe. This is what parents are hearing. Why else all of a sudden are parents saying no to vitamin K? Will you just tell them, for the record, there's women out there delivering today, that they should get the vitamin K shot for their babies?
Are you saying the hepatitis B shot?
No, I'm saying vitamin K. Should women allow their babies to get the vitamin K shot so they do not have brain bleeds?
I would refer that to FDA and to the VRBPAC panel.
The FDA has approved it. It is a recommendation, but parents are listening to you and they are doubting science.
Well, I've never said anything.
You
about
are
vitamin
gambling.
K, so I don't see how they're listening to me on it. I've never said anything about it.
You have not.
I would also
Sir,
point
I'm
out
taking
that
back
there
my
is
time.
no vitamin B shot in Denmark, and they have the same rate. Hepatitis B.
Sir,
They
I'm
have the
taking
same
back my
rate of
time.
hepatitis B as we do.
Sir, this is about vitamin K. It is a spillover effect, just like measles vaccines and pertussis vaccine.
I've never
instilling
said
doubt.
anything
I'm gonna
public
move
about
on.
it. So you saying that women are
I'm going to
listening
move on,
what
Mr.
I'm saying
Secretary.
is just wrong.
You are putting our country in a position where on
I've
top
never
of
said,
the
literally
measles-
never said anything about it.
That's exactly the point. You don't say anything about it, but the doubt you've created about all of medicine and science is causing parents to make dangerous decisions.
Are you saying we changed the recommendations?
Mr. Secretary, I'm reclaiming my time. The last time we spoke, I told you I would hold you accountable for every vaccine preventable illness and death in this country. And now I have to add newborns bleeding out because these same parents who are listening to you are not giving their babies the vitamin K shot. And your
I've never
reckless
said anything
policies,
about vitamin
this is
K.
going to be your legacy.
I've
The
never said anything
HHS
about
secretary
vitamin K.
that caused kids to die. You're Secretary of HHS, your job is to protect us, and you are putting kids in danger. And I believe you should resign or you should be fired. I yield back.
I recognize Dr. Ruiz for his 5 minutes of questioning.
Thank you. Mr. Secretary, do you approve of President Trump's nomination for Dr. Erica Schwartz to be the next CDC director?
Yes, I do.
So you agree with him?
Yes.
Were you consulted?
Yes.
Great. Did you speak to the president directly about this choice before she was nominated? Did you speak
Well-
with the president before her nomination about her?
We were the ones who sent her a nomination to the White House.
So, but did you speak to the president?
I have not spoken to the president directly, but my staff, Chris Klump, spoke directly to the president.
All right, so you didn't speak with the president about a major decision that they were all going to make that you, on an agency that you oversee. Did you speak with Erica Schwartz prior to her nomination to vet her?
Yeah, on multiple occasions.
Great. And have you spoken with her since?
Yes, I have.
Did you vet her positions on vaccines?
I did.
Okay, well, here, let me remind you what she said about vaccines. Quote, "When I was a military physician, my job was all about readiness. It was all about public health, prevention, vaccines, early detection. If we get that right, we change lives before illness ever begins. It was all about vaccines. And if we get that right, we can change lives." So this runs contrary to your dangerous anti-vaccine crusade, Mr. Secretary. These questions are important because you fired the last CDC director, Susan Monarez, because she refused to, quote, "give blanket approval," unquote, and rubber stamp your efforts to dismantle the childhood vaccination schedule without any scientific evidence to do so. Remember that?
That's not true.
Well, this is what was reporting what she testified in front of the Senate.
Yeah, but
But
what
you
she testified to
dismantled-
was not true.
But you dismantled the program, replaced the ACEP board with anti-vaxxers anyway, things that she said you were going to do, and you did it. So when we talk about truth and who is being honest, I would trust her because that's what you did, even though you were denied to Senator Cassidy that you wouldn't do that. And Mr. Secretary,
I had a very good reason
You
for
support-
firing her, and it had
so let
nothing
me
to
ask
do
you a
with
question.
vaccines.
Because you and her have very different opinions on vaccines, did you change your views on vaccines?
You want a soundbite, or do you want to have a discussion? Because what you're saying is absolutely wrong.
What you have demonstrated throughout your entire time as secretary is the dismantling of the childhood vaccination programs that has been detrimental to our nation and puts our nation at risks of getting more communicable diseases, which has been shown through the flu, through the measles. Those cases have been rising, Mr. Secretary.
I'm putting
Dr.
$1 billion
Schwartz, do you agree
into
with
vaccine
Dr. Schwartz
research.
and her vaccine position?
I'm putting $1 billion.
No,
into
Mr.
vaccine
Secretary, if
research.
Dr. Schwartz is confirmed, will you commit on the record today to implement whatever vaccine guidance she issues without interference?
I'm not going to make that kind of commitment.
Because you probably won't, you'll probably fire her as well as you did Director Monarez, because you will not accept the recommendations based on science.
You're getting your
Mr.
soundbite,
Secretary,
but you're not getting
It
truth.
has been reported by Bloomberg that the president and the White House have sidelined you. They've benched you because you are making the president look bad. Are you aware of that?
That's not true.
How does that make you feel, Mr. Secretary? You must be aware of that.
I mean,
And it
you
must
wanna-
be
you
nerve-wracking,
just want the soundbite,
especially
or you
after
wanna actually
A.G.
have a
Bondi,
discussion?
especially
get
after
to the
A.G.
truth,
Bondi
Madam
and
Chair.
Secretaries Noam and Chavez
Badgering
de
your
Rimmer
witness.
got fired for making the president look bad. You see, I think the reporting is correct, Mr. Secretary.
You're just making
You're
stuff
making the
up.
president look bad, especially before the midterms elections. You talked publicly about snorting cocaine off a toilet bowl seat. Your words, not mine. You said that if you were president, you would, quote unquote, reparent Black children. Again, in other words, taking them away from their parents. Your words, not mine. Furthermore, the American people think your anti-vaccination crusade is too extreme. A KFF polling shows that 55% of the Americans disapprove, with 37% strongly disapprove of your work, Mr. Secretary. 56% have little to no confidence. The majority have little to no confidence in your work with vaccines. And you keep losing. Americans are sicker now more than ever. Measles cases were up to 2,288 in 2025, more than the previous year. This year is going to be worse, with cases already at 1,748. So, Mr. Secretary, you should resign for your dangerous dismantling of our public's health, and before the president fires you too. And when you do get fired, don't
Member's
say I
time
didn't
is
tell
up.
you.
Member,
Before he leaves, let me agree with Senator Sanders and ask unanimous consent that an article in the New York Times which shows that there's a higher price for Wegovy on Trump RX This is the fact in terms of America, and Senator Sanders has been correct.
Without objection. Senator Warnock.
Thank you, Brother Chair. Secretary Kennedy, you're here today to defend the president's budget request. In September, you said that the CDC, quote, will again become the world authority on infectious disease policy. Do you still stand by that statement, yes or no?
We already are.
Secretary Kennedy, do you know what rabies is?
Rabies?
Yeah, do you
I
know what it is? Okay, so
Yeah.
rabies, people contract rabies, as we know, through bites from infected animals like skunks, foxes, like raccoons,
Yeah.
and it can devastate a family.
It
When a
can kill
pet
you.
is infected, it is very serious. It's 100% fatal in humans
Yes.
if left untreated, and generally it's a horrific experience. Staff at the CDC Rabies Division in Atlanta, Georgia, have historically been able to field emergency calls 24/7 from providers about complex rabies cases using CDC expertise to determine appropriate care. Secretary Kennedy, since you and President Trump took office, do you know how many people are left to staff this 24/7 line?
I do not know, Senator.
Okay, so the answer is one. So I want you to know that there's one person left to staff a 24/7 line to respond to rabies, a disease which left untreated.
You know how many
It's fatal.
rabies cases there
So-
are every year in the United States?
So I'm asking the questions. The CDC's infectious disease work has been so decimated under your leadership that there's only one person left to staff the line and respond to families about this very deadly and terrifying infectious disease. Let me ask about another disease. Secretary Kennedy, do you know what prion diseases are?
Yes,
yes
I
or no?
do.
Okay, thanks. And when you think of prion diseases, one of them would be mad cow
Mad
disease.
cow disease.
And diseases like mad cow disease can be transmitted from animal meat to humans, and it can cause a rapid onset of dementia, challenges with walking, personality changes, and severe insomnia. It's also 100% fatal, and there is no cure, with people's brain tissue essentially turning into a sponge before death. Do you know which office at CDC monitors prion disease? So
I do not know, Senator.
it's the Prion and Public Health Office. Do you know what population is most at risk of contracting the disease?
I would say it's people who eat meat from CAFOs.
Yeah, so hunters. Prion and Public Health Office is critical in a state like Georgia. In Georgia, we have a lot of hunters. There are more than 600,000 hunters in my state, but your budget proposes to eliminate this office. Respectfully, you seem distracted, Brother Secretary. Why does your budget propose to eliminate the CDC office that focuses on monitoring this deadly infectious disease that's especially a risk to rural communities? Why are you proposing to eliminate the office?
There's a lot of cuts at the agency that nobody wants. We have a $39 trillion debt.
But
We've been asked to cut across the agency 12%.
I assure you that the 600,000 hunters in Georgia would want this office. They would want the protection. I assure you that families that are dealing with rabies or the prospects of that would want to know that somebody's going to answer the phone when they call. You've come to Congress and justified destroying the CDC by saying you want to just restore the CDC's mission to focusing on infectious diseases. Yet you're also gutting the very offices that keep American families safe from disturbing and deadly infectious diseases.
Senator,
Sir, hold on, sir.
Senator, there's
No,
1 to
no.
3 rabies cases a year in the United States. Oh,
Well,
I think one person manning that office full-time
Well-
probably can handle that
Well,
traffic. In terms of prion disease, it's very, very rare.
I beg to differ. Here is the issue, and we see this across the board with CDC. The incredible folks at the CDC in Atlanta, Georgia, they protect us every day from the threats that we don't see. And they don't get much credit for it because of the stuff that does not happen. And it's okay for the general public not to wake up thinking about that. But we expect you to keep Americans alive. And the cutting that we're seeing, these draconian cuts for an agency that you said you wanted to restore to be the leader in infectious disease, yet you're cutting the coverage of infectious disease. Personally, sir, even as you seem distracted while I talk to you about deadly diseases, I think you're dangerous to the American public, and you ought to be fired. And if you're not fired, you ought to have the decency to resign. You're way above, way in over your head. Thank you.
Thank you for your leadership, Senator.
Alrighty there, folks. Let me address this comment right here. When folks come into the lounge or to the listening lounge here, and they put things in like TDS, and I would imagine base DeSalvo, TDS means Trump deranged syndrome. What about anything that you have been listening to here, sir or madam, has to do with Trump? This is the top man that's in charge of keeping the general public safe when it comes to infectious diseases. He is an utter embarrassment. He does not know his job. It's obvious from listening to what we've been listening to and watching what we've been listening to here. This man is a threat to the general public, period. So what in God's green earth does that have to do with TDS? You damn Skippy, I got Trump deranged syndrome. I hate him. I dislike Trump with a passion. So if that's me having Trump deranged syndrome, more power to me. I hope you don't have children. Let's see, what's this one? Do no recommended channel. I don't ask anyone to recommend my channel, sir. You dropped in here. For some reason or the other, you showed up in the algorithm. It shows up in your algorithm. You don't have to recommend my channel. You can do one or two things right now. Stay or leave. Either way, it will not bother me. I'm trying to put out information that the general public won't let you hear. But you guys are coming over there trying to distract. If you think Robert F. Kennedy is the right person for this job, I hope you don't have children. I hope you don't have grandchildren. I hope no one in your family ever needs some health care at any time in their life. I'm gonna take the Republican and the Democratic factor out of it for a second, but it's obvious there's two sources of news. Those that believe in these guys like the Ted Cruz's, the Robert F. Kennedys, and all those people that will literally give you bad information to protect their job. Kash Patel, we see what's going on with him right now. So please do not come over here trying to, hey there, Miss J, please do not come over here trying to run cover for these guys, because it's not going to happen here. That's why I don't comment, so you folks can hear out of his own mouth what he says. Robert F. Kennedy is not good for this country. And if you don't think now, wait till 5 years from now. But the policies that he'll put in place now won't affect maybe not some of us. But think about those folks that are not born yet. Think about those children that just starting out in life, that want to create families, that can have vaccines, that believe that what Robert F. Kennedy is telling them is truth. Most people do get their news. Unfortunately, most people do get their news from Fox. I wouldn't call it news. But just one second, let me go and finish what I was doing. I just wanted to stop with that Trump derangement syndrome crap that someone tried to expound here. All right, let's go back to this one. This wasn't what's from. Let's stop right here. And let's go back. Let's go back to the uninterrupted stream there. How do I feel about Fauci? Well, I don't have a general feeling about him. I know one thing: up until Trump came into office and we had the pandemic, we didn't know who Dr. Fauci was. He was not a member of the public. So I imagine up until folks started saying this or that about him, he was a prominent member of the community, of his community, of the science community, of the health community. Why would I look upon him any other way than that? Because there's a few people that don't agree with him. Before the pandemic came along, I think he was doing a pretty good job of protecting the overall general public. Don't you? And Fauci, right, Ms. J, Fauci has nothing to do with what's going on right now. You guys always like to come back and ask questions about the past and what ifs. Let's talk about the right nows. And right now, we see Robert F. Kennedy is not fit for this job. Why don't you ask me a question about Robert F. Kennedy? What I think about him? I think he's a babbling buffoon. This man said he snorted cocaine off a toilet seat, but he's in one of the highest positions in the country. Ask me about him.
Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, Secretary. You're familiar with Aaron Siri, correct?
Yes, I am.
Okay, that's because he served both as your lawyer in your personal capacity, and he's a lawyer for an anti-vaccine group as well. Is Mr. Siri on the federal government payroll?
No, he is not.
No, he's not. Okay, so that I find that interesting because he is apparently having a really outsized influence on you. And in fact, according to her testimony, Dr. Monterez last August said that during a very contentious argument with you or conversation that you told her to talk to Mr. Siri so that she could fall in line with his vaccine policies. You let him present to your now illegal and discredited vaccination committee. And then this month, you signed an updated charter for the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices to focus on vaccine risk after Aaron Siri urged you to do so. So, you know, despite him not being on the government payroll, it looks like he is clearly, for you, he's a top advisor in your agency. Now, last month, Mr. Siri threatened to sue you if you didn't add hundreds of health conditions to the vaccine injury compensation programs. And just like that, you removed members of the Advisory Commission on Childhood Vaccinations to pave the way for changes. So I just have to ask you, Mr. Secretary, who is running this department? Is Aaron Siri running the department? Are you running the department?
Oh, ASIP has nothing to do with the vaccine court. Nothing.
No, just the questions. Is he running the department? Are you running the department? This Aaron Siri guy has a huge, apparently, influence.
Yeah, you're just filled with mischaracterizations. If you want to ask me about something, I will. But
well, let me just ask you this. And so, Mr. Siri,
you're going to talk and you're going to grandstand, but you're not going to get at the truth.
Well, Mr. Siri is actually, he's gone public with the whole thing now. He's on X, and he said, that he's actually trying to pressure you to immediately change your vaccine policies. In fact, he wrote on X, I have no doubt RFK Jr., this is his quote, wants to update the table. And the only reason that he wouldn't is because the White House won't let him. So is the White House preventing you from updating the VSIP table?
Aaron Siri is an American citizen. He has a right to say what he wants.
He does. I'm just asking you, is the White House preventing you from updating this? Is Mr. Siri correct about that?
Updating the vaccine
table?
No, they are not.
Okay. Now, regarding the new CDC director nominee, part of the new team that you said would revolutionize the CDC, Mr. Siri said that the pick will likely be a disaster, and has said the only thing that Schwartz will likely restore is the CDC to business as usual. He said that leftists, his quote, left to your own devices, you wouldn't have even chosen her, and that she is, and I quote Mr. Siri here, the queen of mandating vaccines. So is Aaron Siri wrong about this new nominee, or is the president?
Well, I guess Aaron Siri doesn't have much influence on me after all, does he? So you can't have it both ways of saying he has an outside influence on our
Oh,
department.
is he
At the
right? I'm
same
just asking a
time,
question. He
he's
said,
suing me and criticizing me
Mhm.
for something that he for a policy that I've made that he doesn't like. So
well,
does he have an
ask,
outside influence or not?
well, he
Because
said,
you're arguing out of
let me go
both
to my
sides of
next
your
question,
mouth.
Mr. Secretary. My next question. Now, you've had some trouble with the truth. I've seen it myself during
What?
your appearances before Congress. And as we all saw clearly during your exchange last week with Congresswoman Sewell, can you admit today that you said every Black kid can get reparented on a wellness farm? Can you admit that you said that?
Can get reparented on a wellness.
Well, let me read exactly what you said. You said every Black kid is now just standard, put on Adderall, on SSRIs, benzos, which are known to induce violence. And those kids are going to have a chance to go somewhere and get reparented, to live in a community where there'll be no cell phones, no screens. You know, you claimed, in fact, you went on to say, actually, the whole transcript was even worse. You said that if you could, you would send, quote, every Black kid, again, your words, not mine, to go live on farms and work. Is that your?
I would have to hear that recording because
Well, I have the recording.
I have no memory of saying anything like that.
Yeah, well, I actually have the recording that I can give to you, but it is absolutely what you said. And if you want me to play it, I can play
But
it.
if you ask me what my opinion is, I do not believe that every Black kid should be reparented on a wellness farm or whatever. And I have never believed that.
Well, you said it, sir. I have the video here. In fact,
I'm
you're
telling you, I don't believe it. That's not my vision for our country.
well,
or
I'm
for the
glad
Black
because it was
community.
ignorant to say, it was dangerous, and it was irresponsible.
Well, if I said it, I apologize, but I'd have to see the transcript.
If he said it, he apologized. He would have to see this transcript. Let me acknowledge some of the people here sharing this news with me. Hey there, Atlanta Love. Nunya Business, welcome in. Miss J, thank you for dropping through. Quinn, thank you for dropping in. L Boogie, always a pleasure seeing you. Candy Cane Lane, Be Wise, thank you. Irene, thank you for stopping in. Neva Thomas, thank you for stopping in. Let's see who else we got here. Miss Smith, thank you. Marita, Miss Smith, thank you for stopping in. Pure Butterfly, thank you for dropping in. Again, folks, I don't want to make conversation. Don't want to have conversations about this. I want you to hear exactly what's going on out of this man's mouth. You can make your own opinions for yourself, but I think all of us in here are rational adults, can see that this guy is not fit for his job. It's not my opinion. It's not your opinion. Use your own eyes, use your own ears, and tell me, if you were the president of the United States, would you hire this guy? I don't think any of us in their right mind would trust this guy with our own children. But he's running the country, or is he? And another thing about this guy, he thinks the internet is not forever. When he talk about taking Black kids and repatriate and reparenting them, what's that sound like to y'all? We don't got to go back too far in history to understand the significant and the historical precedence of what he's trying to go back to. And if you don't believe it, she's not the only one that calls him out on it. Let's go to another one. Here we go. One sec. Let's go to another one. Someone calling him out on this very same thing.
Recognize the gentlelady from Pennsylvania, Ms. Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is Black Maternal Health Week, so I'll just start there. Secretary Kennedy, I'm sure you're aware that Black women are at least 3 times more likely to die from pregnancy-related causes than white women. The vast majority of those deaths are preventable. Black women in my district are more likely to die during pregnancy than their peers in 97% of U.S. cities. Your written testimony mentions maternal and child health 4 times. But from what I've seen, the NIH canceled grants researching Black maternal health. Your administration's fiscal year 27 budget proposes eliminating Healthy Start, which is one of the federal government's primary community-based maternal health programs. And you've made it a priority of HHS to end diversity, equity, and inclusion. So yes or no, my question for you is, if a medical school or a public health school educates students about addressing the Black maternal mortality crisis, would you consider that an illegal DEI?
No,
No, you would not?
no.
Great. I do hope for the medical schools, the universities, and the accreditors, your administration has been threatening that they're watching this and take this directive to continue teaching about and addressing the Black maternal mortality crisis. And I expect your agency to restore and expand funding and support for that work. Also, yes or no, do you think consuming more protein and avoiding Tylenol will prevent Black women from dying 3 times more likely during a pregnancy?
I doubt it. Tylenol doesn't kill
So
you.
then why aren't you putting forth serious policies that actually address the health crises in this country instead of just these unserious conspiracy theories and this wellness influencer mess that we
Do you want me to answer that question, or are you just talking?
No, it's a question.
We are doing more on maternal health than any other administration.
No, I said Black maternal health.
On maternal health.
The Black maternal health.
That includes Blacks and whites.
But the thing
everybody.
is that they're actually not the same outcomes, which means that we need specific and intentional interventions for Black maternal health and Black
Can I
infant.
finish? I'm saying.
Are you going to answer that?
Yeah, we have right now, we've implemented a perinatal pilot project that we're in 220 hospitals around the country. And we have reduced maternal health mortalities by 42% of those hospitals by providing them protocols.
Can you please share what the reduction has been for Black maternal health?
Across the board, it's 42%.
But Black maternal health still has worse outcomes than other people.
I wouldn't know. It helps everybody.
But it
You
isn't.
object to that?
Okay, thank you. It is not. I do want to just, for the record, state that it does not help everyone. Your agency told programs to remove a list of nearly 200 words and phrases from their funding applications, including the word Black. Do you have an idea of how we could solve the Black maternal mortality crisis if we can't say Black?
President Trump is trying to end division in this country, not division.
Not
which has been
eviction.
done during the last 4 years. That's what DEI did. It divided people. It polarized people.
No. We're not talking about eviction. We're talking about
I'm
healthcare.
calling about DEI.
We're talking about healthcare.
Yeah.
Disparities.
You're
So what we're
talking-
asking is if you attack DE&I and then we have a crisis that impacts one population over another, but you cannot direct specific spending or research or interventions to that population, how do you solve the problem?
Do you think the federal government should be paying for DEI?
I think the federal government has a vested interest in ensuring that its citizens survive childbirth.
Well, we are meeting that obligation.
We are not.
Oh, that I can explain to you how we are.
You have not done so far. But also I would say that, we can improve healthcare for everybody at the same time as helping the people who are most likely to die. That's what DE&I, well, first of all, DE&I makes sure that we have Black doctors or women doctors, or that we're talking about the fact that we have a mortality rate that is not matched by any other country as what we would call developed as ours. Really quickly, in yesterday's Ways and Means Committee hearing, you denied saying that every Black kid is now just a standard put on Adderall, SSRIs, benzos, which are known to induce violence, and those kids are going to have a chance to go somewhere else and get reparented. Why did you deny saying this?
Why did I deny payment?
No, why did you deny that you said that every Black kid is now just standard put on Adderall, SSRIs, benzos, which are known as to induce violence, and that you would rehome them?
Well, it's largely true that Black kids, because it's easier to handle people And a lot of the public.
And you're going to
schools-
rehome them?
No, I never said that we should rehome them for illegal drugs. Oh,
Yes, he did. And I don't have time to go find the clip, but yes, he did, ladies and gentlemen. He absolutely said that. He said that most black children are and should be put on some type of medication like Adderall, like Ritalin, and rounded up, taken from their parents, reparented after they go through some 6-month place out in some camp where they have no cell phones, they have no contact with the general public. Hopefully, basically what he's saying is someone will come and take this child and reparent him back into the world. What if they don't? What if this plan that this man had, that he just said in front of us, what if this plan, how many orphanages are open right now in the United States of America, folks? How many kids are out there unwillingly without parents? Now you're talking about the government out of this man's mouth that's running the CDC and everything medical about this place is now talking about grabbing up children, putting them on medication, reparenting them after you put them in some concentration camp, because that's basically what it is. I don't listen. I don't know the karma, but I'm just going to go ahead and say this, Wilbert. When you see your way of life being threatened, you're going to do and say all that you can to preserve. And I think some of these average white Americans, and I'll use this disclaimer, not all white Americans, but if you look at the Congress itself, who's running it? Folks that was around in the 50s, in the 60s, that they were children when it was black people couldn't go down the street. They were youngins, and they got taught by their place. And think about the president of the United States, the so-called president of the United States. His pops was confirmed to be at a Klan rally. How many average white Americans go to Klan rallies, folks? Ask yourself this question. I'll go find 10 white folks right now and ask them, have you been to a Klan rally before? Maybe one or two of them will say, yeah, I have. You don't go to a Klan rally just because you say you're curious. Afraid not. There's too much of this right here going on to where, like I said in 2016, Trump, he didn't start racism. He didn't create racism. But he opened the door for this kind of conversation to exist again. DEI. Remember? We was all on attack when they first made things about affirmative action. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. A lot of folks don't have bootstraps. That's black and white in this country. And Donald Trump is making sure of that. Now, this is a direct shot at my brothers and sisters that are out there supporting Trump. Because Robert F. Kennedy is willing to kiss Trump's ass. What you gonna tell your children? What you gonna tell your grandchildren when somebody snatches them up and puts them because they had an episode at a school somewhere? So they're deemed as a child that needs to be put on medication. Next thing you know, somebody comes snatching your child up, taking them to some repatriation farm, reparenting farm, and you never see your child again. Isn't that the same thing as like selling your child to somebody in the name of making the child better? So for all my black brothers and sisters that is out here supporting Trump and his regime, your day is coming. Your day will come soon. For all my Latino brothers and sisters that's out there that's supported Trump, your day is here. A lot of y'all can't walk out on the streets and be safe. Just by the way that you look, somebody from ICE might snatch you up. What R.F. Kennedy did, he took the Prince of Camelot, i.e. John F. Kennedy, and he turned that historical American name into a joke. So again, to my brothers and sisters, my Latino brothers and sisters, my folks of color, for those of you who voted for Trump, don't look back now and say, what the fuck went on? I voted for Donald Trump. Yeah, you did. You voted for this. We're sitting here looking at this man rip apart medical things that's been in place for years, 50, 60, 70 years, to where it's worked. Measles was almost a thing of the past. Only existed only in laboratories. Smallpox only existed in laboratories until this guy took over. Measles on the rise, smallpox on the rise, all these different communicable diseases that was easily, I won't say controlled or eradicated, but at least it wasn't no outbreaks like they are now. And they always use other countries to say, well, in Denmark, they're doing this. We don't live in Denmark, do we? And chances 99.9% of the American public will never go to Denmark. We'll never go to China. We'll never go to South Korea, North Korea, Russia. So why do we care about what's going over there? Why quote the medical stats from over there until another global pandemic hits and it makes a difference for everybody? We might have. I don't know if you folks remember the actor Jeff Daniels. He put out that he was in, I'm not sure if it's a movie or an actual clip, but it hit dead home. I wish I still had it. I would play it for you. But in the audience, there was a bunch of college kids, and they was going around asking the college kids what they thought was so great about America. Please tell us the great things about America. And finally, when they got to Jeff Daniels, they said, no, I was expecting a better answer than that. And Jeff Daniels flat out blasted them, said, no, we're not the best country in the world. We're at the bottom of this in education. We're at the bottom of this in healthcare. We're at the bottom of this in infant mortality. So we're not the best country in the world. And for those of you to keep that hollering about make America great again, which century, which part of this country was great for people of color? Can anybody please tell me that? What century, what year, what month, what week was make America great again for people of color? People say, well, you're getting ready to go back into the slavery. Listen, I hate to say this, white America, but if y'all lose $50 out your checking account, some of y'all got to go have therapy for a week. You're walking out in town, remember the Karen phenomenon, that white women thought they just go walk up to anyone and tell them that they're doing something illegal? Let's take that back to the Casual Killing Act. Remember that? Where they had to literally put a law in Congress to protect white women from killing children, bastard children as they call them, that their overseers or their husband masters was having with these black slave women. Don't get me started. We came here to talk about politics, but when I see people coming in here trying to say stuff like the liberals are just weak-minded people. You got to be a weak-minded person to believe that Robert F. Kennedy and Donald Trump is the best thing since sliced bread for this country. You got to be a weak-minded individual to believe that when you hear Robert F. Kennedy say that Donald Trump does not sow division in this country, you got to be a weak-minded individual to believe that. Sir, yes. See, here it is again, Jesus. We all had slavery. Even whites were slaves. Now tell me one, Jesus. Tell me one ethnic group that went through cattle slavery, chattel slavery. Name one. Name one. I'm not on meds, Laura. Are you? Are you on meds, Laura? I'm feeling fine. I don't need aspirin. I don't need high blood pressure pills. I'm healthy as a stone, Laura. Go take your meds. And that's one of the things that they don't understand because folks, again, everything must change. George Benson said it best. Everything must change. When you're on top, sometimes you sink to the middle, sometimes you sink to the bottom. Again, I'll go back to this analogy. If you look at Congress, who's running Congress? Folks that was around that were 17 years old in 50. Look at Trump. How old is Trump? He's 79, 80 years old. How much more life, honestly, does Trump have in him? The same shit that y'all was talking about Joe Biden is the same thing that Trump is experiencing every day. No, actually, Jeff, I'm not. I purged earlier this morning. I like it when trolls come in here. You don't have nothing better to say than, oh, you're full of shit. So what am I saying wrong? Is Trump not 79 years old? Is he damn near not 80? Is that wrong? Which part, Jeff, am I wrong? Jeff Ellis, is Trump not damn near 79 years old? Is he not almost 80? Is that wrong? Do you have any elderly people in your house there, Jeff? If you had an 87, 88, 89, or 79-year-old grandfather or grandmother, would you allow them to stay in the house by themselves? Jeff? Would you allow them to drive a car? Jeff? Would you allow them to go to the grocery store? Jeff? I don't think you would, Jeff. What's the nonsense, Bob? What's the nonsense? I like how you guys come in here saying that I'm buying this nonsense. What's the nonsense? Am I saying anything wrong about Trump so far? I'm surprised he hasn't. I'm surprised that those lesions that they try to cover up isn't skin cancer, because you know some of y'all don't do well in the sun. No, you missed that. I covered Jasmine Crockett earlier, almost about an hour ago. You missed that. That was the opening salvo. Now, of course, black people aren't the only minority. Depends on the region that you live in. But in this country, we are one of the minorities in this country. Latino people are a minority. Asian people are a minority. Are y'all really coming in here with these dumb questions and these dumb responses? Of course, black people are not the only minority. Of course, we're not. Some people say that MAGA is a cult. They're Dylan. And if you look at a cult in its hindsight and in its actuality, yes, you can honestly say that. That those folks that follow MAGA are cultish or cult acting. Your continued support. Let me look at this one right here. Okay, Timothy. Hold on, Timothy. I'm gonna give you special attention. I'm gonna put you up. Your continued support is it keeps moving. Causing division is sickening. You're all about being racist and keeping it alive. Stop causing division and help bring peace. Okay, so it's all right, Timothy. It's all right for Laura Loomer to get on a platform and call Candace Owens a nappy-headed hoe or a nappy-headed bitch, black bitch. That's okay. It's all right for folks to go around and say the N-word with impunity. That's all right, Timothy. But when we speak on what we see as far as racist people and racist things that's being done to people of color, we're now being called the racist because we're speaking about what's being done. We should let it go, Timothy. We should let it go, Timothy, because you guys are doing it. It's all, so the Klan isn't a fraudulent unit, huh? Why has not, why did the FBI infiltrate the Klan? How did the FBI infiltrate the Klan, since you want to bring that up? They use paid informants. How does law enforcement catch some criminals? They use paid informants, don't they? No, well, Candace getting to me, Timothy, I knew you would respond. I was just waiting for you. No, Candace is getting everything that she asked for. Remember I said earlier, you can't jump on that side and then jump back over here when it gets hot. Candace got her black card. And see, this is Ed. He says the Klan hasn't been relevant for years. Oh, really? Just because, I tell you what, why don't you see any of their Klan rallies in the Klan uniforms in museums? Why are you only seeing replicas? What happened to, you think all those uniforms that they had back over there have disappeared? Why don't you see them? You think they're being burnt? You say the Klan isn't relevant anymore? Really? Explain this then, milk. Milk with chocolate donuts or milk with coconut donuts? Explain that, Ed. What does that mean, Ed? When Kid Rock and some other folks were sitting around in the pool drinking milk. Well, I'm going to get to you, Bob. Did you say something? I'm gonna get to you, Bob. Hold on just a second. I see you lost my train of thought here. But remember the thing I was saying about milk? You got chocolate donuts, then you got coconut donuts. The chocolate donuts represent white folks having to deal with black people. The coconut donuts represent white folks, pure white folks that's drinking the milk, represents the Asian and brown skin community. Now, let's go back to this. Where you at, Bob? I didn't plan on doing much talking, but where you at, Bob? Hey, see, the Republicans fought to end the cult. Lincoln was the first Republican, and a majority of white folks died fighting this. Listen, you have never heard me say that white folks did not help end slavery. But let me also say this. White folks started it, Bob. In this country anyway. Because remember, when y'all came over here, there was no slaves. Remember when y'all came off the Mayflower and y'all broke bread with the Indians? There was no slaves here. There was no mass plantations. There was no Magnolia plantation. There was no Drayton Hall plantation. There was no Boone Hall plantation. Y'all brought that with you. After you found out harvesting black people from another part of the world was lucrative, y'all brought that over here. And now let's go to the Republicans. Yeah, but if you look at Lincoln in its entirety, the reason why he was so swift to, well, I won't say swift, but why he agreed to it, because it wasn't about freeing the slaves. It was that the South was going to have more control. And he wrote that Emancipation Proclamation to try and bring the country back together. He was not only just saying, no, we're going to go to a civil war because we're going to end the civil war over slavery. That was one of them. But if Lincoln really had his way, he wouldn't have ended slavery. Miss me with that. You got to go pretty deep. You got to get up pretty early in the morning to pull the wool over my eyes. So you got to come in here you had to come here with a little bit better. Listen, Indians made indentured slaves, sir. There's a big difference. They weren't sold. They weren't bred. They weren't whipped. They weren't hanged. They weren't maimed. They weren't had steel shackles around their necks and around their ankles. They weren't made to work from sun up to sundown. They weren't put up on an auction block and examined like cattle. Bob, stop. You're not going to win that argument here, Bob. The spoils of war is this, Bob. In any country, in any civilization, from the Romans on up to what you said, the Indians here in this country, that is called the spoils of war. If you go to war over territory or resources, sir, Bob, if you go to war over territory or resources, isn't the spoils of war to bring back and have those folks work for you? Hmm? Isn't that true, Bob? Uh, who's a crackhead? Timothy. See, when you have nothing else, that's what you call the ignorant. That's what you call the uninformed. When you have nothing else, you resort to name calling. So let me ask you, who's the real crackhead? The person that's listening to the crackhead or the actual crackhead? Because you took time out of your busy day, Timothy, to come over here to listen to me while I'm smoking crack. Let it make sense, sir. Move on. I said I was going to ignore you folks today, but I got time, Timothy. Let me read a few more of these. Okay, here we go again. You guys are always trying to, somebody used the word deflection down there. Listen, you can't go through history from the Dahomey tribe to some actual Americans here, Black Americans that own slaves. For one or two reasons. Did some use it as capitalists for capitalistic ideas? Yes. Were there some freemen that had Black slaves? Yes. That's not the point. You're not going to get an argument from me about that. But you guys are coming in with that microcosm to try and solidify your reason for the slavery of that the Americans input on people. No, all I don't see is color. Okay, David, let me say this. If all you showed me is injustice and something's wrong with my color, what else am I supposed to see? Huh? I guarantee there's not a person that's going to listen to me today that's over the age of 50 that will disagree with this. White America at one point in time told Black boys, Black girls, Black men, Black women that we could not drink from their water fountains. We could not use their bathrooms. We could not read their books. And this wasn't in slavery times. This was in the 1960s and the 1970s. If I could turn my camera on and go grab a book off my shelf that was used at a school here in South Carolina that said for coloreds only, what color was they talking about? But it's called history that you guys are upset that I'm repeating. That's what the problem is. You folks that don't like that I'm actually calling out your history, to where folks like Donald Trump and them are running around saying "Make America Great Again." So this history comes from this. When was America great for Black and brown people? That's where we got to this. The history that we're visiting right now is not good for me as a Black man, is it? But it's good for you probably as a white man, isn't it? Hmm? You guys get upset if we use cracker, but with impunity, you can go to X, you can go to Instagram, you can go to YouTube, you can go anywhere and find the N-word used with impunity. I'm sure there's something I can do. I can talk about it, Bob, which I am. I can make others aware that since you guys hijacked the word woke, do you actually know what woke means? Make yourself aware of your surroundings. White America hijacked it where that's now a bad word. But I'm trying to tell my folks, stay woke. How is Jasmine Crockett a dumpster fire? I guarantee you she's much more educated than you. I bet you she has more, dare I use the word, money than you. I bet she has more influence than you. I bet she has more power than you. So how is she a dumpster fire, Jeffrey? And that's a problem, Bob. You think woke is just a catchphrase. Actually, it's not. It's a way of life, especially if you live down here in the South. Stay woke. When you're traveling, stay woke. Be sure aware of your surroundings. Stay woke to where you're at. Don't stop at this place at 2 o'clock in the morning. Make sure you got enough gas to get through this city. No, not save me. Says history, sir. Since y'all coming in and tell me I'm repeating history. I've lived this history, Bob. I lived this history, Bob. I'm from South Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina, to be exact. So you're going to argue my history? Huh, Bob? I don't think so. Is it, David? Is this really the best country? Let me make sure I read this correctly. David Thompson says that this is the best country in the world for people of color. That's why everybody is coming. So the only people that's coming over here is people of color. Huh? Is that the only immigrants that's coming to this country? People of color. That's what we're talking about, cult-like thinking. Because you think about the southern border. You think about people coming from Afghanistan or from Mexico. What about those people that are coming from Poland? What about those people that are coming from those war-torn countries like Croatia or South Africa, the white South Africans? What about them? Are they not immigrants? Well, I guess they don't count because they're not dark enough. They're welcome here with open arms, huh? How about? I'm not spending it, sir. I'm just responding to some of the, I don't want to use the word idiot. Yeah, I am. You make no sense, Bob. Your argument does not hold water, Bob. You're easily debunked, Bob. You too, David. Spin, and stammer. Back to name callings. I have a speech impairment. Oh, well, I've had it my entire life, but I guarantee you, I'm much more educated than you, sir. I wouldn't come into your platform calling you names, but I see that you're here calling me names. Doesn't bother me when people check me for stuttering from time to time. Some great men have stuttered. Much more greater than me. But let me explain something. When people call me out for that, I give them a reason to why I'd said stammer or stutter. Because I'm trying to hold back the actual words that I want to say to you. When you start hearing me stammer or stutter, there's some nasty grams behind that. There's some nasty grams behind that. Bob. Let's see this one. Let's see this comment right here. It says, when people are triggered, true hate comes out. It's so sad. Who are you referring to? Am I triggered? Are you saying that I'm hateful, or are you speaking to some of the folks that I'm saying here? I'm not, ABT. I had to. But let me get back to it. I do have one more clip that I want to speak with you people about before I get out of here. Okay, so let me go pull it up right quick. Y'all hold on just a second. As a matter of fact, let me give you a little music here for a minute. And this is for all you folks down there that come in here that try and distract me from what I'm doing. Okay. I usually open up my show with this, but I wasn't planning on speaking, so I didn't. So here you go.
Get your life, get your life, get your life, baby. I got my why you can serve my mind, baby. Feeling me, that's why they killing me, lately. Get your life. Get your life, get your life, get your life, baby. I got my why you can serve my mind, baby. Feeling me, that's why they killing me, lately. Get your life. Run up when you see me, no disguises. Keep that thing with me, cause I don't do surprises. J Chanel, show and tell, all facts, no lies, trick. Get your life, cause I'm the type to come to it that mind quick. Eyes on me, what you care for? Watching me, baby, care for. If you ain't a fan, where the cameras? Hide in the back with the bellboys. My circle so restricted. Hands raised like it's your religion. When I sleep, pay close attention. Fake friends out here pretending. Get your life, get your life, get your life, baby. I got my why you can serve my mind, baby. Feeling me, that's why they killing me, lately. Get your life. Get your life, get your life, get your life, baby. I got my why you can serve my mind, baby. Feeling me, that's why they killing me, lately. Get your life.
Focus there.
Watch them cause they after me like a pot of gold. I'm not for play, ask Keisha if you don't know. I'm a little bit cray-cray, approach me, you better be right. If you don't come correctly, you can catch these cans tonight. Eyes on me, what you care for? Watching me, baby, care for. If you ain't a fan, why the cameras? Hide in the back with the bellboys. My circle's so restricted. Hands raised like it's your religion. When I sleep, pay close attention. Fake friends out here pretending. Get your life, get your life, get your life, baby. I got my why you can serve my mind, baby. Feeling me, that's why they killing me, lately. Get your life.
Get your life.
Get your life, get your life, get your life, baby. I got my why you can serve my mind, baby. Feeling me, that's why they killing me, lately. Get your life.
Get your life, boo.
Feeling me, that's why they're killing me. Get your life, Bob. Okay. Bob, I know some of y'all that are down in that chat room right now, y'all gonna get a little bit upset because a lot of y'all don't like this next speaker that I'm about to bring up to the screen because she calls a lot of y'all out. Remember the lady that did the blue-eyed, brown-eyed experiment? Y'all been hating on her ever since. Been trying to find a way to discredit what this woman's been saying for years. Whether you agree or disagree with her, you cannot look past what she says. That's right. Get your life, boo. Come in legally. Listen, does the David, does the immigration system need to be fixed? Of course it does. But this administration, this regime is trying to make it even harder or even legal to get legal status to come into this. We just saw that the Supreme Court had this unprecedented hearing on birthright citizenship. All of these things that these people under are these policies that's been in process and in place for years. Dylan, MAGA supporters hate everybody who doesn't agree with them. Okay? They hate everybody who don't agree with them. Now, a lot of y'all gonna hate this next clip that we're about to use here, but let me go ahead and get it on. Hold on just a second. Let me take my chop shop off the screen. Remember, folks, if you're inclined to, please like, share, and subscribe. I would much appreciate it. I don't ask for donations. I don't ask for live super chats or all that. I just ask you, if you have a comment, please keep it respectful. Also, if you leave me a nastygram, you're going to get one back. Okay? That's the rules around here. That's it. Got to have your sunglasses on. Because sometimes it get deep and get dark around here. Sun come out, poof, and mess up your eyes. All right, let's get straight to it.
Or his parent ego state. He never gets into his adult ego state unless he's reading off the teleprompter. And he is such a poor reader that oftentimes he makes mistakes and then he is instantly in his child ego state right in front of your very eyes. It's absolutely fascinating to watch it happen.
Speaking of our president, a lot of people say that racism has risen under him.
Anybody who doesn't say that hasn't been paying attention. It absolutely has. The kinds of things that are being said in this country today are things that he has said for the last 2 years. He has said them publicly and he got elected because he said them publicly. We have a group of people in the United States of America who were in response to 8 years of a black man in the White House and the possibility that they might have from 4 to 8 years of a woman.
Now, if I was to come up here and say that because I said that in 2016, what we're seeing right now is a direct reason of Barack Obama being in office for 8 years. Some of you white Americans hated this with a passion. So much so that some of y'all folks went on a tangent because the president of the United States had on a tan suit. In comparison to Donald Trump, they're rapists, they're criminals. Let's bomb the shit out of them. I don't care. I don't know. Oh, in 2 weeks. I said back then Donald Trump couldn't read. Folks were saying, no, he's highly educated. He graduated from Wharton. We now know that folks took his test for him. We now know that he bought his way into these schools. We now know that he can't even understand that holding the Bible right side up means something to somebody. But y'all tell me he's a genius.
Woman in the White House will elect anything that walks and can chew gum at the same time. Last election, as far as I'm concerned, was a direct response to having a black man in the White House for 8 years. And it's time to change the White House to the president's house. This is ridiculous to call the place where the president of the United States lives the White House. It sends the wrong message. I remember when Richard Nixon said to a group of reporters, "I'm trying to save the White House for you white people." That says it all. And at that moment I thought, well, wait a minute. Now this is something that has to be changed, and it has to be changed. Nothing can stop an idea whose time has come. It's time to change the name of the White House to the President's House, which has a nice ring to it, don't you think?
Let's just say that President Trump is trying to bring the country.
Well, let me go back. And when I see comments like that, I got to stop. I trust his teacher over you. Well, it was the teachers from Wharton and the other places that he went to school at that told us that Donald Trump was a bad student. The only person that told us, Joe Friday, and that's the truth, and nothing but the truth, that told us that Donald Trump was a bad student was his teachers. I didn't make that up, Joe. Just the facts. Stick to the facts, ma'am. Joe Friday. Got to get up pretty early in the morning to pull it past me, Joe. I didn't make this information up, Joe. His teachers put out this information, Joe. Joe. If I made up a test that was, dare I say the word, if I use it to where I only put things on the test that only Black Americans would know, would you pass, Joe? Would you pass, Joe? I'm not going to do all your homework for you, Joe, but I know one thing for sure. It is documented that Donald Trump was not a very good student. Yeah, it is a waste of our time, Sandy, but you have to look at it. Trump has been in our collective faces for the last 10 years. And you guys, what's this, Joe? You're putting it as 47.2 IQ. Are you trying to say that for me? But who is, are you trying to insult my intelligence? What you guys normally do. But you're here listening to me. You're trying to, as you calling me, I guess in so many ways, not to be smart or dimwit or whatever, but you're trying to have up here having conversation with someone that you feel that's inferior to you intellectually and educationally. Let it make sense. Let it make sense, Joe. If you guys come in here and challenge me intellectually while arguing with me about the same points that you're trying to prove, but I'm coming back to you with answers, Joe. By comparison to what, Joe? Knowledge don't come to you. You got to go get it, Joe.
Together like he said he would do. Wait a second, he's trying to bring the country together. How would he go about doing that?
Resign. If he really wants to bring the country together, all he has to do is resign and take his, with him, the second in command, the vice president. That would bring the country together. But right now, the only way he can bring the country together is put somebody else in the president's office. He does not know how to be a president. He does not know what legislation is about. He does not know how to do this job. He didn't intend to get this job. And had it not been for the Electoral College, he wouldn't have this job. Mrs. Clinton won the popular vote. The only reason we have this person as the president of the United States right now is because the members of the Electoral College didn't do what that Electoral College was designed to do. Thomas Jefferson designed that to make sure that no one who was unfit for that office would ever be elected president of the United States.
Here's a problem that I have. Listen, Thomas Jefferson, was he, let me see, was he a great man? When it comes to certain aspects of Thomas Jefferson, yes. So I can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. But when it comes to Thomas Jefferson and other things, like he said that Black people were dim-witted. He said that Black people didn't smell very well. But yet, how many children did he conceive with a Black woman? She couldn't have smelled that bad. She couldn't have been that dim-witted. Okay.
The Electoral College last year absolutely defeated that.
You criticized President Trump.
Did I?
One thing that a lot of people have criticized former President Obama on was not speaking out on race enough. Do you think he failed in that?
What if he had spoken out enough on race? Imagine what would have happened to him. The man is still alive. Do you
imagine what would have happened to the country as a whole? So I hear people, especially now I'm speaking directly to my brothers and sisters, when I hear y'all come out and say that Obama didn't do enough for Black people. Imagine if Obama would have created policies that only affected Black people. You had to be Black to qualify for this, where the government did do that. The American white government did do that when they started handing out these so-called go get you some land. Or when they started handing out, as y'all call it now, welfare and child support and all these other things. At one point in time, Black people did not qualify for those government subsidies. And yet, now today, y'all put the welfare queen trap moniker square on our backs. It's something that was created for y'all.
Remember Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.? Do you remember Malcolm X? Do you remember all those people have been killed?
Medgar Evers, the list goes on from the 60s, the 70s, on up until they found a man sleeping in his bed. They said he was resisting. How do you resist when you're sleeping in your bed? They took an entire block in 1985, modern day, some of y'all was born in 85, that they blew up an entire city block called them. Remember, they was dealing with the moves. That's recent history, folks. So don't come in here telling me about the greatness of America, and don't tell me that I'm diluting history. I refuse to look at history for what it is.
Killed not because of the color of their skin, but because of the fear of white people, that someone who isn't white is going to look better, sound better, act better, do better than they do. Mr. Obama was the president of all of us. He wasn't just the president of black people. He was the president of all of us. The man who's there now is and claims to be the president of the people who look like him. When he says, make America great again, what he's really saying is, make America hate again. And until people in this country and people in this world get it into their heads that the first modern human beings that evolved on this earth were black women. They evolved in sub-Saharan Africa about 280,000 years ago. And every human being on the face of the earth today has the memory of...
Uh-oh. Some of y'all not going to like that, so I'm going to back it up just for a little bit so y'all can hear this again. Some of y'all not going to like what the good doctor just said, Dr. Elliott just said, but I want y'all to pay attention to it again. She did not say man.
Now is and claims to be the president of the people who look like him. When he says, make America great again, what he's really saying is, make America hate again. And until people in this country and people in this world get it into their heads that the first modern human beings that evolved on this earth were black women, they evolved...
The first modern human beings that evolved in this world were black women. Is she right or is she wrong? According to what we have found, the oldest bodies that we have found, we have not found the body of an older, any older human being other than the body of a black woman. We haven't found a body of a black man yet. We haven't found a body of a Caucasian man yet that outdates or supersedes this old black woman that they found in sub-Saharan Africa. So it has to be the cradle of civilization. Everything has a starting point, and one day everything will have an ending point.
In sub-Saharan Africa about 280,000 years ago, and every human being on the face of the earth today has the memory of those black women's genetic structure in their genes. Now, we don't want to admit that, but that's the way it is. As people moved farther and farther from the equator, their bodies produced less and less melanin, so their hair, their skin, and their eyes got lighter. As they moved into the east, they ate a lot of fish and a lot of vegetables, so their skin took on a different tone. You don't really want to get me started on this because...
I do want to get you started.
Okay, here goes somebody else. I like, for some reason or the other, I feel like addressing trolls today. Normally, it was that Bodis, whatever your name is. Why would you come in there and say another bullshit channel? This woman is an idiot. I think she's pretty educated. Why do you folks call people that's educated, that can think and process information much more quicker than you, that can delineate themselves, that can articulate themselves? Why do you folks come in here and call these people dumb? Okay, so you guys like to make fun of the way people say words like equator? Okay, it's equator. I don't understand the idea of you folks coming here trying to criticize somebody else's intelligence when you have none.
Really angry about how we are miseducating the American mind. And that young man who was talking about MAGA, you need to realize that MAGA stands for Make Americans Grumble Again. And that make Americans grovel again. And that's exactly what we are doing in order to keep that man from destroying this democracy. That is the problem, people. He wants to destroy this democracy. He wants to turn it into either an oligarchy or a theocracy. And this is a man who talks theocracy, who holds the Bible upside down.
And I'm real sick of hearing people say to make America great again, because that word again means go back to the 50s, which was real good for white men, but wasn't worth a damn for people of color and women. You need to know that. And that's what this fool wants us to do.
Country, the way you run a business, particularly in view of the fact that so many of his businesses he didn't run. They were run by other people who knew what they were doing, and that's the reason they succeeded. What he tried.
For years, Donald Trump ran around talking about he wrote The Art of the Deal, the book that he swore by. Come to find out, he didn't write it. It was a ghostwriter from that. So what say y'all about that? When they called Donald Trump out, what you got to say then? Huh?
To do run a business failed. We can't afford to have a failure in the White House. They could kill me, but they couldn't kill the idea. Victor Hugo said, "No force on earth can stop an idea whose time has come." The idea of one race, the human race, is an idea whose time has come. We are not going to be able to stop it, no matter what they do. They can elect Trump after Trump after Trump, and that will not stop the idea that there's only one race on the face of the earth. It's the human race, and we are all members of it. You and I are cousins. Now, if you don't like being my cousin, that's too bad for you.
Yep. If you don't like being my cousin, too bad for you. But the carbon dating and the oldest person that they found it to be what they consider to be civilization, human beings, as a start point and it's an ending point. If the first person on this planet that they found to be the oldest human being, and they can't date that from anywhere else, sub-Saharan Africa, and then they give you a plausible, reasonable explanation to why folks that migrated across these natural land bridges that existed before, when there was places like Pangaea and other things like that, that when you got into these colder climates, your nose became smaller. Why? Because you didn't need to take in as much air. You didn't need to cool yourself. Your hair became longer. Why? Because you needed to insulate your neck. Why do you need to insulate your neck? Because that's where most people lose their body heat from, especially when you're wearing clothes, the head and the neck area. So when you go more into the mountains and move more into colder climates, your hair became more dense, not only on your head, but on your body as well. These are scientific facts, folks. Not me guessing. Scientific, unequivocated facts. Yeah, we went through that earlier there, John Reed. Again, there's a lot of things that people like to ignore, and like they're building this alligator Alcatraz in Florida. The level of humanity in this country is sucked to me an all-time low. What source do I need to drop? What source would you like me to drop? On which particular one? What source? Well, you can just go to the Smithsonian. That'd be a good place to start. Go into, let me spell it for you. GOOGLE. That's Google. Google has this little box that you can type in and start your research from there. And if you find something that I'm saying that's wrong, you bring it back to me. You bring it back to me, okay? Folks say, don't trust Google, don't trust this, don't trust that. But before Google, where did you get your information from? I am I'm a bit sometimes. Where you get it from? You go to the library, you pull out a little library card, and it takes you over to a reference. Instead of going to the library now, what do? You folks run Google. I don't, how many folks, I hate to say this, but is Mark Zuckerberg and all them folks black? They might have some black technical people that works for Google, but as far as owning it, I don't think there's too many people of color. There might be a few smashed in there, but they're not black Americans. I can tell you that. I think their last name ends in Patel. But you guys wrote Google and you don't trust it now? You guys wrote Grok. You don't trust it now? You don't trust it? Your own people to give you correct information? I'm a bitch sometime. You don't trust them? That's why I said, go to Google, type in the oldest living human being found on the face of this planet. And there's all kind of research material that will either that you can lead the side of it being debunked or the side of it being true. You never trusted Google? Well, what source would you what source would you like to? I'm not saying trust Google. What I'm saying is use Google to type in the source that you trust. Use Google to look for the source that you trust. That's what I mean. Wikipedia said but let's get back to this.
But we are all in the same family. We are.
Now, listening to these speeches and interviews by Jane Elliott, you just get to wonder: can someone be so good at observing patterns that way like 10 years ago she could already tell the direction America was going? Or can someone really see the future? Or do some patterns in history simply just repeat themselves so clearly? I'm saying that because of what Jane Elliott was saying.
Absolutely right. For those who don't know history, was doomed to repeat it. So you answered your own question. She's not a soothsayer. She's not a predictor. She's not a Nostradamus. All she did was look at the imperial damage that's right here in front of us. The unequivocal information about the United States of America from its inception until now will tell you exactly that Dr. Jane Elliott was talking about right now. Is there racism in this country? Absolutely it is. Is it on the rise again? Was it like when it was in the 60s? No, because for some people it is, because you got people burning down churches now. You got people using the L word, lynched now. There always will be what? Racism? Why? No, I don't think it'll always be. I think we're on the last vestiges of it. I think that the people that's trying to hold on to the last vestiges of white men are superior, they're all going to die off eventually. There's two things in this world. One thing in this world we cannot get away from. Well, two things: the color of your skin and the Grim Reaper. You might tell somebody where you're from. You might be this or you might be that, but either you're black or brown or white. And all of us, regardless of the hue of what we are, we're going to take that long ride one day and take that final ride one day. We all have that in common. Our beginning and our ending. Some of us meet our endings in different ways, but so far, no one can say or no one can pinpoint that the beginning of the American people as we know it did not come from this civilization. There's one person in sub-Saharan Africa. I don't worry about skin color, Bob. I am who I am. And for you guys to come out and say, well, I don't see skin color, that means you don't see me. Wouldn't you think so, Bob? It's not the skin color, Bob. It's how you treat the person that you're looking at. If that's actual skin color. It's not. The problem is, Bob, but a lot of white America, is y'all use that as, I don't see skin, I don't see color, and think that's okay. A lot of y'all use that. I got a black friend and think that's okay. I don't call my friends by their skin color. I call them by their name. Bob ain't got enough yet.
About 10 or more years ago, and what we are seeing happening in America today, what Americans are basically saying about the state of the nation currently in 2026. Because what Jen Elliott said years ago about Donald Trump, for instance, now feels less like an opinion she had that time, but more like a prophecy that's really getting fulfilled at the moment. If you compare what he was saying about Donald Trump, about America, and what is happening today, it feels like a prophecy. Now, let's continue to listen a little more to what she's saying, and we'll be back with some more really good and interesting commentary.
I thought I knew about racism. I thought I knew about child psychology. I knew nothing. All I knew was what I had learned in school. And what I had learned in school was not education. What I got in school wasn't education. It was indoctrination. I was taught how to be a good American citizen. And in this country, we think that the only Americans are the ones who live in the contiguous 48 states of the United States. Americans are everybody from the very north tip of Canada to the very southern tip of South America. But we, in our arrogance, say that we are the only Americans.
Anybody want to argue with that? Bob or any of you other ones? Are those people that live in South America, are they not Americans? Do we owe that to our only? Are we the only one that can hold that place moniker to say that we are of the true Americans? Wouldn't the South Americans be able to say that? H.T. Baldwin, I ran it. I don't know where I ran into this guy at, but yeah, absolutely he does. What's up? Is that Uwe? Okay, these eyes are a gene pool showing you who their families are. Well, I can't argue with that, Uwe. Wait, I guess that's how you say it. So we did come into agreements about some things. North and South Americans are Americans. If you live on the hemisphere, like she said, at the tip of North America down to the tip of South America, aren't you an American? Someone, Travis said, who is this old white lady? Her name is Dr. Jane Elliott. And I'll let you I'll let her. If you're not meeting her for the first time, sir, you've probably been under a rock somewhere.
This America to Americans. We don't dare build a wall on the southern border of the United States, because those people, those brown-skinned people that are going to come across that border are Americans. Now, we'd better choose our language or choose our behaviors. I've been hit several times by white males, angry white males. I've had a knife pulled on me. They ran me out of Uniontown, Pennsylvania at midnight one night. 3 carloads of blacks did, to get me out of town, because the teachers that I put through the exercise in a very limited way were so angry that they called the superintendent in the afternoon and said, if you don't get that bitch out of town, we're going to kill her. So they got me out of town. First time I've been scared. And the last time I've been scared. Because I found out that day that they could kill me, but they couldn't kill the idea.
You remember the movie Mississippi Burning? If you have never watched that movie before, what she described was actually what was happening all over the United States. Anyone that came in and taught black folks how to read, taught black folks about equality, try to get black folks to register to vote,
Victor Hugo said, "No force on earth can stop an idea whose time has come." The idea of one race, the human race, is an idea whose time has come. We are not going to be able to stop it no matter what they do. They can elect Trump after Trump after Trump, and that will not stop the idea that there's only one race on the face of the earth. It's the human race, and we are all members of it. You and I are cousins. Now, if you don't like being my cousin, that's too bad for you. But we are all in the same family. We are members of the family of man.
You say that all whites are racist. Can you expound on that, please?
Any white person who was born, raised, and schooled in the United States of America, if you aren't a racist, you're a miracle. Either that or you decided to educate yourself. Because education in this country is about white is right, brown's all right, black's got to stand back. Yellow's mellow, but whites, we educate in a way that says that white males have done all the adventures, have made all the adventures, have done all the discovering, have made everything that is good and has been accomplished according to social studies, which is actually anti-social studies, by white males. It's a lie. But we do that in order to maintain the myth of white superiority. The myth of race has to be maintained at all costs in this country. Because if white people have to give up the color of their skin as being something that makes them perfect, what do they have left? If we start teaching the truth about history, if we start teaching about Nile Valley contributions to civilization, it will totally change the way we conduct ourselves in the classroom.
Will it? If we start, how much hell did they raise when they found out Christopher Columbus did not discover America? How much hell did the white public raise when they wanted to stop Columbus Day? In 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue and discovered America. You can't discover anything that's already there. You can only run into it. Just because you plant your flag there, that don't mean you discovered it. It was already there. It's a Gilligan's Island moment for you folks. The weather started getting rough. Your ships got tossed. If not for the courage of your fearless crew, that Nina, the Maria, and the Santa, what's that, the other one, Santa Maria, would have been lost. That's why you ended up on the coast. But that's very, very easy to figure out, folks. Any place on the west coast of Africa, without boat power, without a paddle, without an oar, if you catch that wave, you will end up in three places in the Americas. The Gulf, as they try to call it, down by Texas. You will end up in Louisiana, or you will end up somewhere on the east coast of Florida. That's where those natural tides roll you into. The natural jet streams rolls you into one of those. That's why you find so much driftwood in Florida, in the South Carolina, Louisiana.
It will have to. Columbus didn't discover America. You can't discover a place where people are already living, but we celebrate that every.
And I'm not an educator, but I just said the same thing. You can't discover something that people already live in. So he said in his memoirs that they swore by, that when he said he got off the boat, he ran into some of the native people. How do you discover something? Wonder what the language barrier was like, because I'm sure they did not speak Portuguese or French or Spanish. So how did they communicate?
October, it's a lie. We need to get over. We need to stop telling the myths and start telling the truth.
So when you tell that they're racist, and it must have some kind of effect, because most people will say, "I'm not racist."
I'm not a racist. Why, some of my best friends are black.
Right.
Yeah, and then you say, name one. Or this one, I don't see color. And when some woman says to me, I don't see color, I say, I knew that if you saw color, you wouldn't dye your hair that way. Or I say, if you saw color, you wouldn't wear that shirt with those pants. I believe that you don't see color. It's an attempt to deny skin color. And it's an attempt to deny what's wrong with seeing the color of my skin. Is it all right for you to see me kind of pink? That's okay for me. I don't mind. And I suspect.
Remember what I said earlier, Bob? Just to say that you don't see color is to say that you don't see me, Bob. And any other person, whether you're black, white, Asian or whatever, to say that you don't see color is to say that you're not recognizing that person for what the core essence of that person is. That's the first thing you see. You don't know about their character. You don't know about their bank account. You don't know anything about them. But one thing you know right offhand, when you see me, there's no second guessing. I'm a black man. So to say you don't see color is to say you don't see me.
That you don't mind being seen the color you are. You have a right to be what you are. And until people in this country and people in this world get it into their heads that the first modern human beings that evolved on this earth were black women. They evolved in sub-Saharan Africa about 280,000 years ago. And every human being on the face of the earth today has the memory of those black women's genetic structure in their genes. Now, we don't want to admit that, but that's the way it is. And as people moved farther and farther from the equator, their bodies produced less and less melanin, so their hair, their skin, and their eyes got lighter. As they moved into the east, they ate a lot of fish and a lot of vegetables, so their skin took on a different tone. I found that out when I was raising little kids. My husband worked in a supermarket. He was the head of the produce department. And they had lots of oranges that they couldn't sell, so he'd bring them home. And I was feeding my kids orange juice like you never saw in your life. They began to have an orange cast to their skin. I thought they had a liver problem. So I took them to the doctor, and she said, "What are you feeding these kids?" I said, "Well, lots of orange juice." She said, "Stop."
You are what you eat, folks. That's an old saying, but it's no more true saying than that. You are what you eat. I lived in San Francisco in the Bay Area for quite some time. I used to catch public transportation, and this is no disrespect to the Asian community, but a lot of the Asians ate garlic. It's in their food. It's in how they process their food. It's in their ingredients. But when you get on those buses or you get on those the cars, and you got all those people breathing, you got people sweating. When you catch some of the buses, when you're going into Chinatown, tell me when you're on that bus, you do not catch a hint of garlic. Because you do. That's not being disrespectful. It's just what collectively we know that some of y'all put that in your food. Now, I could mention other things to prove my point, but I'm keeping this PG. Come back later on at Doc. We'll talk about it.
But if you wanted to stop being orange. Now, if you think that skin color isn't anything other than the body's natural reaction to the natural environment, get over it.
So if all white people are racist, according to you, can they be reprogrammed?
Of course they can. Of course they can. Of course they can be. It's called education. I'm an educator. The word educator comes from the root duck deuce, which means lead, the prefix e, which means out, the suffix ate, which means the act of, and the suffix or, which means one who does. An educator is one who is engaged in the act of leading people out of ignorance. Now, I know you can change them. The second year I did the blue-eyed, brown-eyed exercise in my classroom, it was filmed by the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. They gave me a copy of that film. I showed it to my father. My father was about 59 years old at the time. He's been a farmer all his life. He raised six kids, lost one, raised six. Watch that film as a 59-year-old man. When it was over, he stood up, and with tears in his eyes, he took his red handkerchief out of the back pocket of his...
Okay, what's your name? Travis? I've had about enough of you, sir. All right. I've tried to be respectful to you, but you continue to be disrespectful not only to me, but to the people that are down here in this platform. It's obvious you do not want to be educated. So it's time for you to get the fuck on. But before you leave, Travis, I always have something prepared for guys like you.
No, I'm sorry. Somebody trying to talk to me while I'm working? Go outside, nerd. Get out. Go. I ain't got time to be distracted by your worthless chime-ins. Go on. But tell this sumbitch to walk the fuck out right now, or we done for the day. Go on. I'm sorry. Somebody trying to talk to me while I'm working? Go.
Now you're done, Travis. Make like a baby and head the fuck on up out of here. Now let's get back to what we were doing here, folks.
overalls, his bib overalls, and said, I wish somebody had taught me that when I was 9 years old. Nobody had dare say to me, this doesn't work. This is too harsh. This isn't necessary. You can't teach an old dog new tricks because they're wrong. You can teach an old dog new tricks. You can teach people to give up the myth of racism. Somebody taught the Greeks to give up the myth that the sun was a god in a golden chariot that went across the sky every morning. They believed that for hundreds of years. We have believed the myth of 3 or 4 races, different races in this country, for long enough. 572 years or something like that is enough of that. It was a lie to begin with, and it's a lie to...
Trainer and human rights activist Jane Elliott. Now, we often hear about reverse racism now.
There's no such thing as reverse racism. There's no such thing as reverse racism. You can only be a racist if you have the power to institutionalize what you're doing to people who are different from you.
So I want y'all to understand that. When you folks come at me and say I'm a racist because someone called me that earlier, what power do I have to tell you where to live, how to live, and why to live? I cannot be a racist. Black people are not in power in the United States of America. Yeah, we might be in Congress and a few. We have, what, 1 senator, 2 senators? So what laws can the overall 13, 14, 15% of this population, what laws can we put together to exact and tell white folks where to live, what schools to go to? I'm not going to Texas Pete. How did you slide back in here? Fuck on up out of here. Do I have to play it again? See, this is what I'm talking about. Folks like Texas Pete. He ain't from New York City. He just come in here and want to call somebody out their name. They have nothing interesting or educational to add to the conversation. So they'll come in here like a petulant child of Donald Trump. It's a block party, ABT. I don't know why. Freaks come out at night around here sometime, huh? Now, I don't know about all of that. Yeah, even if I don't know whether you're being sarcastic there, Ben Russell. Even if a dog learns new tricks, it's still a dog. Well, yeah, you're right about that. But something tells me there's an underlying statement to that there. Ben, Mr. Russell, I think there's something a little bit more sarcastic to that. Dog whistle, even. You're right, Lauren. Let me move on. You're absolutely right. Let's continue. You're right. You're right. I'm just gonna start blocking you folks now. When I see your nasty comments in here from now on, I'm just gonna block you. I'm not even gonna waste any more time because that's taken away from the people who come here for the information that I put out and don't have a problem agreeing or disagreeing without being nasty about it.
What we're calling reverse racism is natural reaction to being treated unfairly on the basis of somebody else's ignorance. Now, don't ever let anybody say to you or about anyone around you that people don't like that person because of the color of their skin. That isn't the reason white people don't like people of color. They don't like people of color because they don't understand about skin color. And they don't understand that we all are descendants of somebody who looked like your mother.
That's deep.
You don't really want to get me started on this because
I do want to get you started.
I'm really angry about how we are miseducating the American mind.
And what I like the most about what you're doing in your exercises is that you come in with a very direct attitude. You even call yourself the B word.
Well, but you see, the B word for me is the one that's most often used to refer to me. It used to bother me a lot.
Yeah, just like it said they can't use the N word with her, so they'll use NL, the N lover with her, or they'll use the B word. But for me, you're right, Candy Cane. When they see you getting triggered, when they see that they got your goat, they sink their teeth in a little bit deeper. So that came right. That comment came right on time.
For me, the B word is an acronym for being in total control, honey. So you want to call me that? It'll prove to me that you're out of control. And then I'll whip out my little Lorena Bobbitt fruit knife and take care of it for you. Go on.
So is it necessary to strip away all of a white person's power, like in your exercises, in order for them to see the light? Or is there another way
It's necessary to do what we do in offices and in the military and in schools and colleges and in hospitals and in community groups all the time. What we do is we become our parent ego. We go into our parent ego state, and that forces all those we're working with into their child ego state. And if you watch our present so-called president, he spends most of his time either in his child or his parent ego state. He never gets into his adult ego state unless he's reading off the teleprompter. And he is such a poor reader that oftentimes he makes mistakes, and then he is instantly in his child ego state right in front of your very eyes. It's absolutely fascinating to watch it happen.
Speaking of our president, a lot of people say that racism has risen under him.
Anybody who doesn't say that hasn't been paying attention. It absolutely has. I'm getting more hate mail now than I have gotten for years. The kinds of things that are being said in this country today are things that he has said for the last 2 years.
Openly has said it. And when tell me she's wrong. Tell me the amount of hate mail and nasty grams that you get on a daily basis if you put up a post about Donald Trump, or if you have a stream about Donald Trump. Right here today is proof positive of what she is saying.
He has said them publicly, and he got elected because he said them publicly. We have a group of people in the United States of America who were in response to 8 years of a black man in the White House and the possibility that they might have from 4 to 8 years of a woman in the White House, will elect anything that walks and can chew gum at the same time. This last election, as far as I'm concerned, was a direct response to having a black man in the White House for 8 years. And it's time to change the White House to the president's house. This is ridiculous to call the place where the president of the United States lives the White House. It sends the wrong message. It says, I remember when Richard Nixon said to a group of reporters, I'm trying to save the White House for you white people. That says it all. And at that moment I thought, well, wait a minute. Now this is something that has to be changed, and it has to be changed. Nothing can stop an idea whose time has come. It's time to change the name of the White House to the president's house or the president's residence, which has a nice ring to it, don't you think?
Okay, let's just. Say that Donald Trump, President Trump, is trying to bring the country together like he said he would do. Wait a second. He's trying to bring the country together.
My fault, folks. I was muted again. Someone came in and asked me a question, and I put the mute button on. But what I was just saying was, just think about this. If you had the two houses, what would happen if someone from the House of Representatives or the Senate decided to introduce a bill to change the name from the White House to the president's house? Which party would be in more of an uproar? Put a 1 if you think it's the Democrats that would be more of an uproar, or put a 2 if you think it would be the Republicans that give the most pushback to the name of the White House being changed from the White House to the president's house. While I was on mute, that's exactly what I was saying.
He go about doing that and
resign. If he really wants to bring the country together, All he has to do is resign and take his, what do you call him, with him? The second in command, the vice president. That would bring the country together. But right now, the only way he can bring the country together is put somebody else in the president's office. He does not know how to be a president. He does not know what legislation is about. He does not know how to do this job. He didn't intend to get this job. And had it not been for the Electoral College, he wouldn't have this job. Mrs. Clinton won the popular vote. The only reason we have this person as a president of the United States right now is because the members of the Electoral College didn't do what that Electoral College was designed to do. Thomas Jefferson designed that to make sure that no one who was unfit for that office would ever be elected president of the United States. The Electoral College last year absolutely defeated that.
With the state of the country being what it is right now, there's a lot of conversations taking place about, let's have a conversation about race. How would a person go about having that conversation? What can they expect to happen in a conversation?
Well, the first thing they have to do is not talk about tolerance. I found out the day I was on the bottom in the blue-eyed, brown-eyed exercise with my students, I found out how it feels to be tolerated. I found out that tolerance means put up with or allow me to be. I don't need your allowance, and I don't need to be tolerated. I want to be valued, recognized, and appreciated. Put your tolerance where the sun doesn't shine. I do not believe in tolerance because.
Thank you. And again, it's so many words that we use every day, folks, that if you don't look at the word and it's how it's being used, words matter. And a lot of people say, well, we tolerate, especially on CNN, on the what's her name? Abby Phillips. There's a guy in there, Scott. I can't think of his last name right now. But why is he on any news platform when he's obviously a Trump sycophant? If to me, this goes to the legacy media. To me, let Scott and all those other folks that want to pump up Trump, let them go over to that network, OAN or Fox News or whatever. But don't put them people in front of us to be a distraction, because that's what he does. That's what folks come over here to be a distraction from the truth. Instead of us talking about what's going on in America, we're talking about what Scott said to Abby Phillips, or what so-and-so, what Laura Loomer said to Candace Owens, but we're not focused on the idea of what Trump and his vice president is doing, stripping away all these civil rights, stripping away your right to women's autonomy, taking us back to where Make America Great Again, where people of color and women had no authority to do anything except bow down.
As in this country, we tolerate zits when we're little, zits when we're teenagers, hot flashes when we're old, and the flu and bad weather in between. We tolerate ugly things that are going to go away. I don't intend to tolerate anyone. I intend to recognize, appreciate, and value people, not to tolerate them. And I have all kinds of respect for the man who is part of the tolerance group in Atlanta, maybe. I have all kinds of respect for those folks, but we've got to change it from tolerance, because the powerful can tolerate. The powerless have to wait to be tolerated.
Okay. All right.
I have no time.
Let me address this comment right here. I always have to. Someone says, holy cow, can you imagine Hillary Clinton being our president? We'd be so screwed. Are we not screwed now? Gas prices at an all-time high. You don't know if you're going to be able to afford health insurance. Are we not screwed right now? Taylor? What has Donald Trump done for you? What is the American, how is the economy so great for you right now? That you could, okay. I said the same thing about former president, former Vice President Harris. So I'm going to say the same thing about former Secretary of State Clinton and former First Lady Clinton. You don't know either one of these resumes. You don't know. You're in the office. Someone hands you two resumes. We've got two people in the office. I don't know which either one of these folks. You put Hillary Clinton's resume and Donald Trump's resume to a prospective person that's going to hire them for a business. You look down Donald Trump's resume and you look down Hillary Clinton's resume. As a smart businessman, who would you hire? If you're telling me that you hired Donald Trump, you won't be in business long, because everything that he's touched is either going up in shambles or been a fraud. Trump wine, Trump liquor, Trump steaks, Trump University, the USFL, everything about Trump is going belly up. Tell me I'm wrong. Is the USFL still in existence? Can you go get Trump steak now? $13 for bacon? $13 for bacon. So when you come in here and say that we would have been screwed by having a different president, be Hoka, bend over, here it come.
For that.
I like that.
No, I'm going to get lots of angry responses to that one. And I understand that. But I'm reading a book right now. Everybody needs to read this book. It's called, everybody has to read this. Everybody that's watching this has to read this book on tyranny. 20 things that we've learned over the last 100 years in this country that have put us in the position we're in now and what we can do about it. Everybody has to read this book. They should read this book first, and then they should read The Myth of Race by Robert Wald Sussman. And once you've read The Myth of Race, you will never, ever again go along with the idea that there are 3 or 4 or 5 different races. It was.
I've again, folks, I've done streams on this very same comment, that there's only one race, that's the human race. And if you go back to Leonidas, or not Leonidas, but whoever the guy's name is, I don't know why I keep pronouncing his name wrong, but he came up with the concept of race based on skulls and the color of a skull that they found somewhere near the Caucasus Mountains. So if you were the person that orchestrated race and you looked at your skin, would you put yourself on the bottom of the race? Let me take care of this right here. I don't have time for that. Don't have time for it. If you were the person that was putting up this thing they call race, would you put yourself as a white man at the bottom? Would you say you were the least unintelligent? Would you say would you put yourself at the bottom of any of those things? If you created something, I know I wouldn't.
It's a lie made up by the people who ran the Spanish Inquisition. And before that, there were different colors, but there was race that had nothing to do. There was only one race, the human race. We made that whole thing up. It's time to get rid of it. We have the power to do that. This country got ready for World War II in about 6 months. And you're telling me that we can't destroy racism? White people created racism. Anything you create, you can destroy. God created human beings, the human race, and they started out black women. White people created racism. Human beings created racism. It's time to get over it.
Can we go back 1 second?
Sure you can.
You criticized President Trump.
Did I?
One thing that a lot of people have criticized former President Obama on was not speaking out on race enough. Do you think he failed in that?
What if he had spoken out enough on race? Imagine what would have happened to him. The man is still alive. Do you remember Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.? Do you remember Malcolm X? Do you remember all those people have been killed not because of the color of their skin, but because of the fear of white people, that someone who isn't white is going to look better, sound better, act better, do better than they do?
Now, Can anyone argue with what she said so far? I know some people won't agree with it, but can you really have a legitimate argument? Could your argument stand up in an actual debate? Because I hear a lot of people run around talking about that, the greatest thing since sliced bread when it comes to debating. But if you were in a debate with Dr. Jane Elliott right there, would you win? Based on what she knows and based on what she's telling you, is there such a thing as more than one race? No, it's the human race. You know she's right there, so you can't bring anything else. Did white Europeans create this concept of race? Yes, you can't argue that point. Is Donald Trump a moron? Yes, he is. You can't argue that point. Would Hillary Clinton have been a better president than Donald Trump? Yes. Would any president, any person been a better president than Donald Trump? Absolutely, positively, yes. You folks are that running for Donald Trump, that's giving ideas to Donald Trump, that's running cover for Donald Trump, you might as well have been in the cult of Jim Jones. You might have been in the cult of David, might as well have been in the cult of David Koresh. You might have been you might as well go ahead and join and say that I'm full-blown a Trumpite. Because he is not doing anything to make your life better. I have proven my point, sir. Or ma'am, Lacoste, I have proven my point. You just refuse to see it. I have proven my point. Am I wrong about Donald Trump? Which part am I wrong about? Am I wrong about the concept of race? Am I wrong about that? Which part am I wrong about? Which part am I wrong about that you can go throughout this world and find a history of America, Europeans, by tracing one thing, the blood stains. Dropping bombs on its own citizens, going around saying, no, the United States of America only dropped bombs on other countries. No, we haven't. We dropped bombs on our own citizens right here. So tell me, which point am I wrong about? Well, just based on her credentials alone. Hillary Clinton Hillary Clinton has been a career politician. She's been through the school. She has the education. She's a lawyer. She knows these things. She has all the attributes of being a politician that Donald Trump does not have. She's more educated than Trump. She's a better speaker than Trump. She's a better negotiator than Trump. Do you think Bill Clinton would have been the president without Hillary Clinton? Do you think Bill Clinton would have been the governor of Arkansas without Hillary Clinton? I bet you not. Do you think Jimmy Carter would have been the president of the United States without Rosalind Carter? I would think not. Do you think we would revere FDR as much as we could if it had not been for Eleanor Roosevelt? Well, YouTuber, if you believe that Trump is the best president ever, then you don't want for much. That's all I'm going to say about that. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to have to get on up out of here. I did not mean to spend this much time here, but I got a little carried on and carried away. I will move on there, Lacoste. Go get you a shirt, wear it. Go get you one of them alligator shirts. Go have your cold drink somewhere and sit down and reflect on not coming over here trying to prove me wrong. So again, do I think that Hillary Clinton would have been a better president, regardless of her gender, than Donald Trump? I think Hillary Clinton would have been a better president over a whole lot of them, both Bushes. But anyway, folks, y'all have a great day. Be safe. And remember, like I always say on my radio station, the grace of the day costs you absolutely nothing. Say hello to someone. Might change the way they're thinking, might change the way they're living. You never know. If you walk past, don't say hello. If you're into house music, starting about 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, Central Time, got 2 great shows lined up for you. DJ Ed and the Soulful House Mix from 11 to 1 a.m. And before that, it is DJ Dreadhead Said with the Our House Radio Show. So y'all check that out, Classic R&B Jams. The link is down in the description. Till then, I'll see y'all.
Look, all you motherfuckers been snitching for him and shit. Now you standing up in here and goddamn it talking about preaching preacher. Fuck that nigga. Fuck that. I'm gonna shoot your ass too, motherfucker. Keep going. You gonna get shot too, nigga. You gonna get shot. God bless the fool, goddamn it. God bless the fool. Now, I'm gonna tell y'all something. I'm gonna end this goddamn thing. Look, where's that goddamn money bowl at? Who got that money bowl? We taking that money right now before you leave this bitch. We ain't leaving out here for free, mother. Yeah. Y'all know the motherfucker ain't no good. You want, look,